Welcome back to the world of Overlord. In this video, we're diving into Season 3 of this epic anime, where Ainz Ual Gaon continues to solidify his rule over the Great Tomb of Nazarick while facing new threats and expanding his influence. We'll take you through the major battles, political intrigue, and the key moments that make this season a thrilling watch. And don't forget, if you need a refresher on the events of Season 2, check out the recap linked in the video description.
始めてください。
おいおい、マジかよ。
Following the events in Riastize, Ainz has some of the floor guardians take a day off. The ladies spend time by the 6th floor lake, where Albedo learns she cannot ride her bicorn mount Summon due to her being a pure maiden, to the other two's shock, while Ainz sends a memo to the male floor guardians to meet later for a bathhouse gathering for relaxation. Later on, as Ainz is in his personal quarters practicing his overlord posturing, he exits to meet with Mare and Albedo. Albedo succumbs to her lust and tries to have sex with Ainz in his office. It is with the total efforts of the guards and Mare that Albedo was removed. In the evening, the men are relaxing in the spa house, but hearing Albedo blatantly try to climb the wall when a defense golem programmed by Lucifer attacks them for lacking bathing manners. Ainz orders the male floor guardians to help the ladies, internally hoping next time they will have more time to relax. Ainz brings together the NPCs to review the grand plan overall with Demiurge recounting, when really, he just wants to learn the demon's thought process. It is revealed that all the NPCs are planning world domination, with Ainz completely oblivious. As Demiurge states, this was Ainz's goal, ascertained by his actions, starting with Karn village being subjugated with no casualties and having the residences living peacefully. Thus, it meant Ainz wanted world domination and experimenting on ruling his subjects. Meanwhile, at Karna village, Enferea is spending entire nights developing a potion for Ainz, while Enri is caring for the goblin troop as they teach and protect the village. After running low on medicinal herbs, Enri, Enferea, and 3 goblins search the forest for said herb. Finding a growing patch, they see a wounded hobgoblin child being hunted by a bar guest, so they save the child. Enferea uses the experimental purple potion to fully heal Agu, the boy hobgoblin. Agu explains that he was attacked by minions of the Giant of the East, who himself has allied with the demon snake of the West. Enri, Enferea, and the goblin troop bring Agu to Karne village to inform them of the situation in the Great Forest. Some time ago, the Monument of Ruin was being built and guarded by undead, and after the great beast of the south vanished, the Giant of the East allied himself with the demon snake of the West. Taking into account a possible threat, Britta goes to inform the Vigilante Committee to ready evacuation procedures, while Enferea asks Lupus Regina to deliver a purple potion to Ainz with a progress report. At night, the goblin troop find the rest of Agu's tribe and group of ogres. One goblin, Jujum, instructs Enri to act as alpha to make them submissive, which works, and they swear loyalty. As the survivors need medical treatment, Enferea must stay up all night while Enri goes to Irantil in the morning. Arriving at the main gate, her goblin General Horn is detected and is about to be put in custody until Momen arrives to vouch for her, and she is released. As Enri goes about her day, Momen covertly allows her to ask the Adventurers Guild for aid with the trouble in the forest. Upon return, Enri is voted as new village chief, but is taken aback by this and consults Lupus Regina and Enferea. After a self-reflective talk with Enferea, Enri decides to accept the position. Over the village high above, Lupus Regina is met by Yuri Alpha for a summons by Ainz. When asked why she's smiling, Lupus Regina answers that the village dynamic has shifted and she would love to see the faces of the residents if the whole village were to burn down. Ainz reprimands Lupus Regina for her failure to report on Karn village. Lupus Regina states that she did not think it was important, but Ainz informs her of Enferea's value and orders her to protect him, Enri, and Lizzie above all else. Afterward, Ainz and Aura goes to find the Giant of the East and Demon Snake of the West to see what sort of monsters they are. They discover the Giant is a large troll named Gu, and the Demon Snake is a Naga named Rairarius. Ainz offers them to submit or die. Rairarius quickly complies after failing to escape. However, Gu refuses and the two duel. Gu's attacks prove ineffective and Ainz neutralizes him and the remaining trolls, and afterwards Ainz has Demiurge review the menu for a dinner Ainz is planning when Ainz is informed that the village is under attack and gives Lupus Regina permission to engage. Gu's forces begin their attack on Karn village. While the Goblin Troop, allied ogres, and the Vigilante Committee prepare to defend the village, the remaining villagers take shelter. As the battle begins at the front gate, Enri and Enferea search the village to ensure everyone is safe when they see a troll climbing over the rear gate. To prevent the troll from finding the hidden villagers, the two distract it by disguising their odor. However, the troll catches on, and Enferea tells Enri to run for help and confesses his love to her. Enferea continues to fight the troll while Enri gets back up. However, he is overwhelmed by the troll's strength. Just before the troll is about to kill him, Lupus Regina appears and kills the troll. The battle at the gate also ends successfully, and Lupus Regina informs Enferea and Enri of Ainz's invitation to a dinner at Nazarick. Royal Mage, Fluter Paradine is told that the adamantite adventurers from Darkness wish to meet him. Meanwhile, the worker group Foresight prepares to take on a mission exploring an undiscovered tomb within the borders of the Riestize Kingdom. The mission appears to be well-paying, albeit dangerous, but they have accepted it since one of their members, Mage Arche, needs money to take her little sisters and escape her heavily in-debt parents who refuse to cut back on their spending. They meet up with 3 other worker groups, Green Lead, Heavy Masher, and Tenmu. They have all been hired by a noble of the Baharuth Kingdom, who has also hired Momon and Nabe as extra protection. Just before they all set off on the job, Momon inquires as to the reason why all of the workers have agreed to this mission, to which they reason, money. Momon accepts the answer, deeming his question as unnecessary. The workers arrive at Nazarick and briefly explore the outside and discover immense riches. They all decide to move deeper inside, except for Greenleaf, who decides to stay outside as a guard and look for other routes inside, while also secretly using the other groups as canaries. Inside Nazarick, the groups are quickly separated in their eagerness to find more treasure. Outside, Greenleaf encounters the Pleiades, who summon a series of powerful undead warriors called Nazarick Oldguarders, who make quick work of the worker group, slaughtering all of them. Heavy Masher is chased by a number of Elder Liches briefly, before the members are teleported to 2 places. Some are transported to the Black Capsule, where they are fed to cockroaches. One other member is teleported to the torture chamber and is tortured by Neuronus Painkill, presumably to death. Tenmu encounters Hamsuke, who is training to become a warrior. After a brief fight, the leader of Tenmu, Arya Uzruth, is killed easily after Hamsuke activates the martial arts, slashing strike, and beheads him. Foresight is teleported to the 6th floor arena, where they are introduced as invaders and will be facing Ainz himself. Foresight tries to apologize to Ainz for trespassing into Nazarick, but Ainz rebuffs their words, refusing to listen to their excuses and declaring them to be worse than maggots for daring to enter Nazarick as thieves without permission. He initially attacks them with a sword and shield, but while he overwhelms them in strength, their own skill, experience, and ability to work as a team allow them to remain relatively unharmed. Ainz decides he has played enough and reveals himself as a magic caster. Arch initially denies his claim until Ainz shows off his true power, which he had concealed during the physical battle. The impact from this reveal shocks Arch to the point where she vomits in sheer terror, and Foresight once more attempts to fight back but fails miserably. Roberdick and Amina tell Arche to flee after Hecarim falls in order to go back to her sisters. Once she runs away, they beg Ainz to grant her mercy, and he accepts, but only by telling Shaltir to show Archa the depths of despair and then to kill her painlessly. He keeps Roberdic for mental experiments, while Emina and Hecarim are given to Gashoku Kochu, a parasitic NPC. Arch attempts to run away from Shaltir and fails when she discovers that she is actually underground and there is no way out, after which Shaltir reveals her true form and kills her. Mare and Aura later travel to the Baharuth Empire, where they confront Emperor Jerkniv for sending the workers into the tomb and demand that he atone for this crime. Emperor Jerkniv travels to Nazarick to apologize for the invasion of Nazarick, and is immediately given a show of Nazarick's power when they use Tier 6 magic easily, and use Death Knights, monsters capable of slaughtering armies for menial tasks like setting tables. Ainz further shows off his power when he is given the head of the noble who was responsible for sending workers to Nazarick, and turns it into a Death Knight. Ainz reveals his intention to crush anyone who would dare go against him and restore peace to his surroundings, and Jerkniv extends an offer of friendship to protect the Baharuth Empire, while suggesting that Nazarick establish a proper kingdom, but secretly intends to set up an alliance behind his back in order to defeat him. However, Demiurge has already figured out the Emperor's plan and reveals it to Ainz and the other NPCs later. Jerkniv realizes that Fluter Paradine has actually been working with Ainz the entire time and has betrayed him. This is confirmed in a flashback where Ainz has revealed his true power to Fluter, who in turn pledges his undying loyalty to Ainz in exchange for giving Fluter the opportunity to peer into the abyss of magic. Ainz establishes the sorceress kingdom of Nazarick and demands that the Riestes kingdom withdraw from all lands around Erantel, claiming they belong to the sorceress kingdom, and the Baharuth Empire backs them. Gazef requests the king to do as Ainz asks, claiming fighting Ainz would be a terrible idea, but the king refuses, as doing so would be a sign of weakness, and he cannot afford to show weakness when the royal faction in Riestize has begun to grow in strength after the Jaldabaoth incident. Marquis Raven agrees with this path and is set up as commander for the war. Crown Prince Barbro is eager to prove himself and tries to join in, but instead is sent to Karna village to question the villagers about Ainz. Barbro decides to draft the villagers once he has questioned them in order to use them as hostages against Ainz. Ainz arrives at the Baharuth army camp before summoning his army of Death Knights. Barbro's army arrives at Karn village, and Enri, the new chief, struggles to delay them as they hid the goblins and ogres. Barbro has a watchtower burnt down as a threat, but the action only reminds the villagers of the incident Ainz saved them from, inspiring the villagers to take up arms against Barbro for Ainz. Lupus Regina watches the incident unfold and is broadcasting it to Ainz. Enri and Inferea decide to lead the women and children out from the back, while the able-bodied men, goblins, and ogres act as distractions from the front. The strategy seems to work, but the soldiers present at the back notice the fleeing villagers, and in an attempt to delay them, Enri blows on the second goblin horn Ainz gave her, but somehow summons not a small group of mercenary-like goblins, but an army of goblins 5,000 strong. Ainz is surprised, but theorizes that the horn in fact hides a true power that no one has unlocked, and that Enri somehow managed to unlock these conditions. The goblin army proves to be more than a match for Barbro's conscripts and send them running, saving the village. Later, Barbro's army is surrounded by level 41 redcaps and Lupus Regina, who reveals her intentions of massacring Barbro's remaining army. Jerkniv reveals to his advisors that he plans on having Ainz cast the first stone in the upcoming war in order to truly gauge his strength and to reveal the threat he poses to the world, hoping to use that and have the Riestes kingdom realize the necessity of an alliance. The Baharuth Empire's 60,000-strong army consists of well-trained knights, while the kingdom's army is 240,000 strong, but consists mainly of average people. Gazef and Raven are at the front lines, and Gazef has been given the 4 treasures of the kingdom: adamantite armor, a magic sword called Razor Edge, gauntlets of endurance, and the amulet of immortality. Ainz approaches the front lines, but proceeds to begin casting a super-tier spell. The left flank of the kingdom's army, consisting of 70,000 men, charges as Ainz casts the spell. Ishub Niggurath, which slaughters the entire left flank and proceeds to sacrifice them to summon 5 massive monsters called the Dark Young. Gazef attempts to fight back, but the Dark Young prove to be unstoppable until Ainz walks onto the battlefield and approaches Gazef and asks him to become his subordinate in exchange for calling off the Dark Young. Gazef refuses even as Ainz tries to goad him, and just as Ainz is about to continue the massacre, Gazef challenges Ainz to duel. Gazef challenges Ainz despite knowing that he has no chance of winning, and Ainz accepts the duel. Before fighting, Ainz examines Gazef's sword to reveal that he has unknown properties, and despite being imbued with lesser amounts of mana, it is able to harm and possibly kill Ainz. The duel begins. Climb is asked to be the starter of the duel and asks if he can use a magical bell. Ainz agrees. As soon as Climb rings the bell, Ainz casts Time Stop Magic. He uses an instant death spell to kill Gazef during the stopped time. He calls off the Dark Young out of respect for Gazef, but warns Brain that if the kingdom refuses to surrender, then they will rampage through the capital. The king and nobles of the kingdom are terrified at the result, and have no choice but to give up Irantal as per Ainz's demands. Brain and Climb believe that Gazef's useless attempt to fight Ainz was a way to help them learn more about him. Ainz arrives at Erantel in a large procession, but all the people hide inside out of fear. A child attempts to throw a rock at Ainz, but the sign of disrespect has Albedo attempt to execute him until he is saved by Momon. Momon, played by Pandora's actor, is enlisted by Ainz to act as a city representative and law enforcer. This is revealed to be part of Demiurge's plan in order to find and kill any enemies. The Guardians once more pledge their fidelity to Ainz as the Sorcerer King, and he declares it to be the founding of the Sorceress Kingdom.